I moved into my own apartment 2 months ago, and thinking back on how excited I was to live on my own makes me want to throw up. Half a decade with shitty roommates had me flinging boxes into the first studio I could afford. 450 square feet sounded big at the time, but reality presented me with 3 tiny rooms to call home. The main space carves a block of dingy tile and concrete into the foundation of a Thai restaurant. A window the size of my hand leaks natural light onto the stained floor, and a lone fluorescent bulb lights the rest. Lastly, a small hallway snakes from the back of it, turning a corner that takes you to the bathroom and the kitchen, a sink and a cupboard with a mini fridge on top of it. It started on night 1. I had a few celebratory beers over the successful move and needed to christen the new bathroom. I stood out of the lone folding chair I had set up and froze after the first step, my eyes stuck to the angle of the corridor. The bulb's light struggled around the corner, leaving the darkness that lurked on the other side obvious. A lack of light was never my favorite decoration, but it hasn't ever had this effect on me before. My whole body was stiff. I was unable to blink and barely able to breathe. Fear flooded my veins with ice, and unplaced adrenaline boiled the blood within. I felt like a cornered rabbit staring down a wolf, but my brain knew I was just looking at crusty beige paint peeling off of an old wall. Regardless, my soul itself refused, every neuron saying it was fine. I was unable to pull my gaze from the hall, but I forced my body to reach for the chair, fighting my muscles for every inch. I lifted the plastic seat and wrapped my fingers tight around the back legs, bracing to unleash my inner macho man on whatever sat just out of sight. I slid 1 foot forward, my jaw clenched. Second step, I entered the hallway. When I reached the corner, I stopped. This fear was irrational, I thought. Just jitters caused by the new experience of living alone. It was then, seeking a reason for my own panic, that I heard it for the first time. A deep, raspy breathing was barely audible on the other side. It was wet and broken, like someone with hiccups choking on their own vomit. At the same time, it was hushed, barely audible over the soft hum of the street outside. It was almost masked entirely. But there, at the verge of rounding the corner, it was unmistakable. I even thought I caught half a word through the muck of noise. I raised my chair, took in as much air as I could, and swung around the corner with all of my weight. The plastic punched a hole into the drywall, lodging my would-be weapon firmly in place. I instinctively stepped back, a reflex against whatever my mind convinced me to swing at. But nothing attacked. Nothing appeared. Nothing breathed. It wasn't anything. I was a sweaty, panting idiot staring into an empty slab box. I spent several minutes watching that slab box continue to be empty, waiting for some kind of Michael Myers to present himself. Even more nothing. I blinked a few times, shook myself free of the stupor, and made a vow to research panic attacks the next day. A few weeks passed, and I was able to convince myself I had just been hearing things. The boxes got unpacked, the walls got a few posters, and I finally started to feel at home. 1 month after my move, to the hour, it happened again. I was washing my 8 dishes and thought it'd be more fun with music. I left the running sink to grab my phone from the living room, but before I could even turn around, I felt it again. Primal horror encompassing my entire body. This time, I turned quickly to face it. Again, the light seemed like it was barely reaching around the corner, but I swear it had gotten darker. The 2 articles on panic attacks I skimmed taught me about breathing techniques that I tried to employ. They didn't help, but the attempted taking in of air at least brought movement to my legs, enough to be able to reach my recently unpacked baseball bat. It may as well have been the chair. Even armed, my body shook as I inched closer. I heard it again, louder this time. At the hallway's threshold, the same labored breath crept from behind the corner. No fooling myself like last time, I heard it clearly, even over the faucet. Soggy, stuttering gasps formed a parody of what breathing should sound like. Once again, I was at the end of what I could see. I attempted to swallow, but my mouth was completely dry. My eyes narrowed, my grip tightened, and I swung. I put another hole in the wall, and the vibrations forced the metal bat from my hands. It was nothing. Again. But I knew I heard it this time. Not only was I sure I heard it, but in that final instant before the swing, a word emerged from the wheezing. Just one, nearly drowned out by the maw of whatever uttered it. 2. This has shattered my life the past month. I couldn't sleep, which caused me to get fired from my job. My savings don't allow for a gym membership, let alone a new security deposit, so I've been stuck in this fucking basement. I've begged the old man who runs the Thai place for the bathroom code almost every day, but he stopped giving it to me a week ago after he caught me taking a sink bath. I had to turn that corner again, but I didn't know how many times, if any, I could until it came back. I had the bat in my hand for weeks, staring down the hall, any kind of video playing in the background to keep the silence at bay. It wasn't until today that the pattern showed itself. Another month on the calendar, to the exact hour once again, I heard it. Loud this time. Viscous smacking over black lungs echoed throughout the 12 walls that form my coffin. The gloom reached from around the edge this time, beckoning me towards it. Though I was struck by the same paralyzing dread, I had been stewing in it for 30 days. The anxiety of waiting acclimated me to the nightmare. I was ready to face it. I shot out of my bed and charged to the bend, screaming as loud as I possibly could. Even over my own blind shouting, the broken voice rang in between my ears. 1. Again, I charged the bend to find nothing. I saw nothing, but I knew there couldn't be nothing there. I'd heard it 3 times. I saw the darkness grow, the breathing, the words, all of it. I threw open the cupboards, then the mini fridge, followed by the bathroom cabinets, then the shower, and again I found it. Absence. Furious and terrified, and with no other outlet, I howled at the top of my lungs and blindly threw the bat over my head and down the hall. The metal slammed against the wall and clambered loudly to the ground. My exhausted arms met my weakened knees. I stared at the ground in disbelief. When the pipe ceased its toll, I heard it, heavy and dragged out with each rasp. I looked up and felt myself go pale. The light coming from the main room was completely blacked out, leaving only the chugging of its inhalation and the dim outline of my surroundings. My eyes adjusted to make out long, black, pudgy fingers that crept into my half of the hallway. One set clung inches from the floor, the other less than a foot from the ceiling, each finger bending any way other than correctly. The staggered gasps became even more exaggerated. At that moment, I realized it's not even breathing. It's never been that at all. Whatever this thing is, it had been laughing at me the whole time. The asymmetric rhythm of its unseen giggling bounced up and down in pitch, like it wasn't sure how hard it should laugh at its cornered prey. Then, without warning, silence. A millisecond of quiet before the torment I find myself in now. It showed itself. Just an outline of a sliver of its face was visible, but it was enough. Its eye caught a non-existent light, a pinprick of white inside a pool of void. Matted strands of hair clung to bloated, pearlescent flesh that threatened to rip free of its host. The edges of curled, skin-tight lips betrayed a wide grin. It gleefully peered at me, bobbing up and down sporadically in amusement like a school bully mocking my clothes. Its appearance, how wrong it was, reminded me that I had a body. My fingers wrapped around the handle faster than I could think and slammed the bathroom door shut as it began to pull itself from behind the wall. In the final moments before the door could shut, I saw the flaps that formed its mouth part. There wasn't a flash of teeth, no gnashing fangs to pierce my skin, just slimy strands of bile ebbing across its paper-thin lips. Through my flimsy barricade, I heard its final words to me. Ready or not. That's where I'm writing this from. Sitting on the dank tiles of my dirty bathroom, firmly planted against the door. It's not clawing, banging, or trying to coax me out in any way. It's just running one of its crooked fingers up and down the door. From the sound, I think it's tracing my outline into the wood. I called the police, I've called my friends, I even tried calling my mom. It's always the same. Rings once, picks up, and the breathing comes in so loud it threatens to break my eardrum. I've sent texts, I instantly get the same reply, every time, no matter who it's to. Here I come. I'm trapped down here. Something is waiting for me to turn that corner one last time. I'm just gonna type this out here and hope it gets through to you all. There is no help that can get here before something happens to me. All I have to offer you is one piece of advice. The next time your instinct says there's something around a corner waiting to get you, listen to it. Something is there, and it's worse than what you can imagine. The loud ticking of the clock woke me up. I reached out to switch on the light above my bed and glanced at the clock hanging at the end of the bed. The clock hands indicated that it was 2:30. I got out of bed to shower and get dressed, preparing to go fishing. Once I finished getting ready and gathered my gear, I headed out of the house immediately. It took only 5 minutes to get from my house to the river. I parked the car neatly before grabbing my fishing gear from the vehicle. I walked down the bank of the river before laying the gear down on the grass. I picked up the bait to prepare for baiting the hook. Once everything was ready, I moved closer to the riverbank before casting the fishing bait into the water. After finishing baiting, I turned to prepare my fishing rod. While getting the fishing rod ready, I swept my gaze around the dark, serene surroundings, illuminated only by the light from nearby lampposts. Perhaps it was because it was around 3 a.m. It looked eerie, but not surprising. I cast my fishing rod into the river before placing it on the ground and tying the line to a stick stuck in the ground to prevent the rod from moving. I repeated this process until everything was set up, then sat on a water bucket to wait. Meanwhile, I played some music to prevent the surroundings from being too quiet. I sat humming to the tunes, waiting for the fish to bite while observing the riverbanks. This river was a popular spot for fishing enthusiasts to gather and catch fish, mostly from the early morning until dusk. Unlike others, I chose to come during the dark morning hours because at this time there were no crowds and no need to compete with others. Additionally, any fish caught during this time had to be sold by 7 a.m., so I chose the pre-dawn hours to ensure my catch remained fresh. After several minutes, the fish began to take the bait on my fishing rod. I managed to collect the caught fish and put them in the prepared water bucket. Then, I turned to change the bait for the next round of fishing. While I was preparing the fishing rod, my eyes caught something under the bridge across the river. I glanced at it, resembling the silhouette of a person standing under the bridge, and then it suddenly disappeared. I hesitated for a moment, swallowing nervously. I grabbed the flashlight and aimed it at the post under the bridge before cautiously approaching. I shone the flashlight around, and suddenly, someone emerged from behind the post. He was a middle-aged man, slightly taller and paler than me, wearing a patterned shirt. "What are you doing here?" My voice trembled. I stared at the person in front of me, from head to toe. He appeared to be just an ordinary person, nothing like a ghost or anything. He must have been someone who lived nearby or came here to fish, just like me. "I came here to fish." Breathe a sigh of relief. I walked back to where I was, with the man following closely behind me. I sat down on the ground, and he settled nearby. Glancing at him surreptitiously, I decided to break the silence. "I'm Pan. What's your name?" "I'm Singh. Do you live around here?" "Yes, I live here." "Here?" Before I could speak, the sound of splashing water in the river caught my attention. It seemed like the fish had taken the bait. I rose from the ground and went to the spot where I had set the bait. Pulling up the line, I found only one fish hooked on the bait. I put that fish into the water bucket before casting the fishnet out again. I walked back to my original spot and glanced at Singh standing by the riverbank. I didn't pay much attention, thinking he was probably fishing just like me. As time passed, I picked up my phone to check the time. It was now 4:30 a.m. I glanced over at Singh. He was standing still by the riverbank. Suddenly, he walked into the water without saying a word. "Hey, where are you going?" I shouted and walked straight towards Singh, but it seemed like he didn't hear me. I walked closer, trying to reach out to him, but the closer I got, the further he seemed to move away. I walked after Singh until I was in water up to my waist. Suddenly, Singh stopped and stood still before disappearing into the water in front of me. "Singh! Singh!" I yelled Singh's name repeatedly before deciding to dive underwater. I tried to forget about searching for Singh underwater, but the darkness prevented me from seeing anything beneath the surface. I emerged from the water and turned left and right to search for Singh. Suddenly, I felt a cool breeze on the back of my neck. Slowly, I turned around and found Singh standing behind me. His face was pale, unlike when we first met. "Singh, what are you doing? You scared me." I turned to speak to him, but hesitated when I saw that his condition had changed drastically. Singh looked like a dead man. The condition became sluggish, with sunken eyes that seemed to have been gnawed by animals. At that moment, I was terrified before regaining my composure and quickly running ashore. However, Singh grabbed my leg and pulled me back into the water. I struggled desperately to escape death until I finally managed to break free. I rushed into the car and tried to start it, but the engine wouldn't turn over. I struggled with the key several times until, finally, the car started. I shifted gears and stepped on the accelerator, leaving that spot immediately without caring about the fishing equipment I had left behind. I drove out while glancing at the rearview mirror from time to time, thinking I had escaped for sure. I took a deep breath of relief when I didn't see him following and turned my focus back to the road. But then, I was wrong. Suddenly, Singh stood in front of the car, seemingly appearing out of nowhere, causing me to instinctively swerve and dodge. The black pickup truck veered off the road before crashing into a large tree with tremendous force. My head hit the steering wheel hard, and to make matters worse, the tree fell on top of the car. I crawled out of the car, barely able to move due to the immense pain. With almost no strength left, I decided to lie down beside the wreckage of the car. With blurred vision, I could see some people standing not far away. I vaguely remembered that one of them was Singh. Singh, I've never done anything to you. Why did you have to do this to me? Singh stood still, not responding to me, but instead walked closer to me. He stopped, looking at me lying there silently from the pain. I realized then that Singh wasn't human. He was a ghost. I admit, at first when I found out he wasn't human, I was terrified. I ran away without thinking about my life at all. But even then, I still considered him my friend, even though we had just met. I don't know what you're angry or seeking revenge for, but if I've done something wrong or hurt you in any way, I apologize. I spoke with a final burst of energy before everything faded away. When I woke up again, it was morning at the hospital. My wife told me that around 5 a.m. someone found me by the river where I went fishing. They said a man was wearing a dark patterned shirt with pale skin, who helped park my car and mentioned that someone had crashed into a tree nearby. However, by the time they arrived at the scene, the man was gone. I pondered over what my wife recounted and strongly suspected that the person who helped with the car must have been Singh. I thought he must have felt guilty and sought someone else to assist me instead. After leaving the hospital, I returned to the riverbank once again and accompanied Invite the monk to perform a ceremony to release Singh's spirit. While conducting the ritual, I saw Singh too. He stood in the river before gradually fading away. He's gone now. I rose from the ground before turning to speak to the venerable monk. That's right, venerable monk. From now on, he won't have to linger in the cold anymore. After completing the ceremony, I prepared to return home. Suddenly, there was a faint call for me. I turned to look at the river but found nothing but emptiness. It wasn't hard to guess that it was probably the last farewell from the lion spirit, thanking me. Go to a better place, Singh. Perhaps one day, we will meet again, I said, concluding my thoughts before turning back home immediately. Had I not come here several days ago, I wouldn't have encountered the Singh. I believe the harm he inflicted on me was out of fear of being captured or erased, but I hold no grudge against him. I still think he was just waiting for someone to come and set him free from this cycle. Hi, this might be a weird one, but I have nowhere else to turn. I've tried changing the locks, calling the local authorities, and now considering moving as a last resort. I need help keeping myself out of the house. Let me take a step back and explain what's been happening. About 8 months ago, me and my wife, we'll call her Helen for privacy, moved into our new home. Planted at the end of a cul-de-sac in a nice gated community. Originally, we moved here to be closer to our jobs and for the additional space so we can finally start trying to start a family. At first, everything seemed normal. The neighbors were nice and friendly, the transition to our new home was fairly easy, and Helen got a promotion shortly after. Everything was going great. But one day something happened. It was the middle of the night when Helen nudged me awake. Not the slow kind, quick and frantic. She nudged me again, harder this time, and whispered, I heard someone downstairs. I sat up, still foggy from sleep. Our bedroom was pitch black, but I could hear the faint creak of floorboards below. Slow, deliberate, not the settling kind, not the wind, something heavier. I grabbed the old bat from under the bed, the same one I'd kept since college, and crept out. Helen stayed behind, the lock clicking softly as she closed the door behind me. I didn't find anyone. No signs of a break-in. Front and back doors still locked. Nothing missing, nothing moved, except for the refrigerator door hanging slightly ajar. I almost laughed it off, but Helen didn't sleep the rest of the night. That morning, I bought the cameras, 4 of them. One above each entrance and one in the living room, synced to my phone, motion alerts, night vision, cloud backup, top of the line. It made Helen feel better, made me feel proactive, and it helped for a while. A few days passed without incident. Then one morning, I got a notification while at work. Motion detected, back door, 7:42 a.m. I tapped the video, sipped my coffee and waited for it to load. And there I was, clear as day. Jacket zipped halfway up, coffee mug in hand, unlocking the door, walking inside. Only I was already inside the house. I'd woken up late that morning. I hadn't even left yet. I double-checked the timestamp, checked the footage from the inside camera. Same time, same moment. Helen making breakfast, me walking into the kitchen, twice. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe a system glitch. A saved clip from another day accidentally mislabeled. Some kind of tech hiccup. Until it happened again. And again. Sometimes it's at night, sometimes during the day. Always from a different entrance. Always me, same clothes, same face, no distortion. No signs of editing or loops. I started dressing intentionally weird some mornings to test it. Mix-matched socks, inside-out hoodie. The version caught on camera would match my appearance exactly each and every time. Even down to how my hair sat. I've hidden these clips from Helen. I don't want her to worry, and I just don't know what to say to explain what's happening. The worst was 4th week after moving in. I came home late from work. Helen was upstairs asleep. I poured myself a drink, sat down, and checked the cameras just out of habit. There was footage from earlier that evening, about 30 minutes before I walked through the door. It was me again, walking through the front door. But this time I looked up at the camera, stared directly into the lens for a full 5 seconds before moving inside. That version of me, whatever the fuck it is, never showed up again in the footage. No exit, no upstairs movement. Just gone. The next morning I woke from the couch to sound of Helen softly sing and cooking breakfast. I got up and gave her a kiss on the cheek, commenting on her seemingly good mood. Then she said something that made my stomach do cartwheels. Why wouldn't I be? You were in a very good mood last night, she said before going back to cooking, giggling and humming. I don't know what's happening. I've changed the locks, reinstalled the entire system, even set up a second layer of hidden cams Helen doesn't know about, just in case I'm losing it. But the entries keep happening. Always me. Never overlapping in person. Sometimes I catch myself wondering, what if I'm the wrong one? What if I'm not the original? He still shows up. Sometimes when I'm home, most of the time when I'm not. A part that bothers me are the times I catch the other me rubbing Helen's stomach. Other times she's unaware that he's there, watching her. She's due to have the baby soon. I don't know what to do. That's why I'm writing this. Not for sympathy. Not even for answers. Just in case one day you see me on the news, missing, arrested, or worse, I need someone to know. I've been trying to keep myself out of the house. And I think I'm losing. Thank you guys for watching this video. Write in the comments what story you liked the most. I think second story was really scary. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Goodbye.